You're in Utah, aren't you?
Yep.
You. It's funny how the universe and vibrations work because I seen one of your videos, and I thought you were homeless the first time I seen you, and I checked it out. But you were so happy. You had such beautiful vibes, man. And this with this whole Corona thing and all this crazy stuff that's going on, it's just you were a breath of fresh air for me specifically.
Oh, well,
Then
thanks.
I did some digging and I seen that you're a comedian.
Yep. Been doing that for over 20 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to dig in your brain a little bit because I have aspirations of doing stand up comedian myself, being doing stand up comedy. Um, I usually dive into people's childhoods and all that to kind of get a feel for them, but I want to dive right into the comedy with you. How did you find stand up? How did you know that it was something you wanted to do?
When I was a kid, I loved sneaking up, staying up late night and watching the Tonight Show so I could watch the comics. Bob Newhart and Carlin and all those guys on the Tonight Show, and I loved the idea of doing comedy. I used to watch Bob Hope all the time when I was
Yeah,
a kid. But over the years, I got into theater and different stuff, improv, all that kind of stuff, and I always had a desire to do stand up. I just never knew how to do it. It's just one of those weird things where it's like, there's no real structure to it. You just kind of just start doing it and hope for the best.
yeah,
And so, long story short, got married. My wife, I used to do all these crazy characters to make her laugh, and she kept pushing me to do stand up.
yeah.
And finally, I almost got my hand cut off by a guy at my my business.
Can you
I was,
can you tell me that
huh?
story? Can you tell me that story, please? That's just
Well,
that's so random. Like that's so random. Are you comfortable telling that story?
oh sure.
Yeah,
Well,
go.
I had a business. I was a a carpenter for many years, and I was looking to get my contractor's license. So I had started a little handyman business where I was doing, maintenance stuff for a property management company. So I'd fix stuff in apartments and houses that were for rent, and this gal, she had this little window next to her on the side of her door. People kept breaking that window open, reaching in and opening her door, getting her and stealing everything. So I told them, well, instead of replacing glass, let's do plexiglass. So I went there to fix the door. And I had a gentleman who I met at church who was homeless, um, and needed a job. So I brought him along whenever I could. I didn't mind, having some help and just give him, cash, whatever I could at the time. And anyway, we were getting ready to do this window, and the plexiglass, you just kind of score it in the back, and then you bend it, and it pops.
Yeah.
That's how you cut plexiglass. Well, I'm telling the guy, I'm scoring it, and he's like, well, I want to learn how to do this. He was really big on trying to learn how to do everything. So it's like, okay. He takes the knife, and I'm holding the plexiglass. And I said, just cut it nice and easy. Just score it a couple times, and then we'll pop it. Well, he's decided that, he's going to cut the whole thing in one swoop. And he just grabs that knife and just starts going at it and loses control, and then and swings the knife right at me. I pull my hand back. If I hadn't pulled my hand back, he would have caught me on the
Oh
wrist.
man.
But he ended up chopping off the top of my finger
Okay.
right there. And so my wife had to come and rush me to the hospital. So while I'm sitting there on the table getting my fingers sewed on, I was like, this was never what I really wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that night, I called a friend of mine, who who was also a carpenter, and I asked him to go and finish the job. He went and graciously finished that job, and then I just said, you know what, you can have my whole contract. I handed the business over to my friend, and I just decided I'm all in on comedy. I went and found an open mic, wrote a couple jokes, and
Yeah.
got a couple chuckles at my first open mic, and away I was going.
So
Never looked back.
when you decided that you were going to do that, see, here's my thing. I'm man enough to admit I've been telling. I'm a storyteller more so than say a joke writer. When it comes to
Uh-huh.
comedy, I'm a good storyteller. I've been doing it my whole life. Uh, when you hear, as I'm sure you've heard, before you decided to do stand up, that you should do it. Like, man, you should do stand up comedy. I'm sure you heard that a few times before you
Yeah.
decide. So when you hear that over and over, and I'm 43 years old. I went through 10 years of hell, just destroying myself, finding myself, rebuilding myself. And just recently, over the past 2 years, I really started to get some confidence in what I'm trying to do. I just was there any fear for you when you the first time you got up there? Or was it just like you were ready to go? You were like a pit bull off the leash? Because I don't know. I don't have stage fright. The more because I started this thing as an arm wrestling podcast, but my whole message, my whole vibe, my whole MO for being on social media is bigger than arm wrestling. It's about self-discovery, finding out who you really are. It's about going after whatever it is that you've been talking about doing for years. It's about healing from your pain. It's about giving people hope, especially with the way the world is now. That's what really got me interested in you is because I said I didn't until I dug in a little bit. Then I seen you're a regular you're a regular guy. I thought you were just a guy in the woods. I mean, whatever that character was, you it. And I'm wondering, I'm hoping at some point during the podcast here you can give us a couple examples. But yeah, so I, I that actual moment of just saying "fuck it, let's go for it." I I've kind of balked at it a few times, but and I just wanted to. My initial reason for getting you on here was just to have this is vibe sessions, just vibing out, two guys, two positive minded guys, and a pleasant conversation. And maybe it'll make someone smile who's having a shitty day. You know what I'm trying to say? But once I found out you were a comedian, I was like, I want to dive into this comedy thing with him because he's been doing it, you said, for like 20 years. And now that you've been doing it for this long, now that we talked about why you got into it and where your interest came from, what's it been like these 20 years? I mean, I'm sure you've gone on the road. I mean, can you tell me as far as distance, how far you've covered as far as shows? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I lost you. Um, Yeah, distance wise, can you tell me what you've covered over the past 20 years? Like as far as
Um,
how far have you been?
yeah, I've performed all over the all over the Western United States, most of New England, and then all over Texas. Done quite a bit there and through the Midwest. Not too much in the South, but I'm hoping to get out there.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's it's everywhere and anywhere I can go.
as far as city wise, is there any city in particular that stands out to you as being a real badass crowd, like a wonderful crowd? One that
Oh, I mean, I'm a little biased to it, but probably Utah. Salt Lake City crowds are very smart, very kind, very forgiving, and just love to laugh. So
yeah,
those are my absolute favorite ones.
I don't hear much negative about Salt Lake, Utah. Do you live close to there?
Yeah, I live in Orem, which is about well, I have a house in Orem. I also have a house in Connecticut, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake City. So there's a Wise Guys comedy club. He's got three clubs here in Utah, and I work all
Nice.
three of them. And
Is it run by an Italian?
uh, No,
I'm Italian. That's
that's it.
why I asked. That's
Yeah, yeah,
all.
yeah.
Is there how about the any of the comedians that you I don't know if you want to say grew up or through your adulthood before you got to do this that looked up to? Did you ever get to meet any of them in your
Oh
travels?
yeah, probably the best one was Emo Phillips. I loved him when I was younger,
Yeah,
and I've gotten to work with him a couple of times.
yeah.
So yeah, he's absolutely one of the best joke writers ever. So that was a real thrill. And I've gotten to work with Ralphie May,
Oh
Pauly
shit, Ralphie
Shore.
May. What's that
Uh,
like, Ralphie? I know Ralphie May.
he was absolutely a peach of a human being to hang out with. He was very kind, down to earth, gracious, very funny. Just really enjoyed chatting with him. Bobcat Goldthwait, really cool
Wow.
dude.
No shit.
I mean, just Sinbad. I hung out with Sinbad. He took me to lunch, so that was fun. Uh, yeah, just Jim Brewer,
No.
Norm Macdonald. He's a that dude is just. I mean, he's what you see on stage. That's him, man. That dude is just nuts. It's awesome.
Is Bobcat Goldthwait really like that? Like he is in the movies? Is that how he really is in real life?
Oh no, that's an act. No, he's probably one of the most down to earth
Yeah.
and brilliantly intelligent individuals you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
Man is a genius.
Well, Jim Brewer, he's got them eyes like he's always stoned and he get made fun of for it, but he has regular eyes, man. I remember listening to a story.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
very funny.
he was doing a bit once where he was talking about he worked in a retail store and he like called in he could do a lot of imitation voices and he was I don't know if he was I think he was pissed off at his boss and he called in a bomb threat to his store. The FBI came and everything. It was nuts. Yeah, he's a any kind of crazy stories hanging out with them after a show? Any kind of funny stories?
um, yeah, probably my favorite one was what's it, Dave Attell.
Hmm.
Back when he was doing the Insomniac show, he came through Salt Lake a couple times. And the first time he came, we brought him into the club to Wise Guys, and he didn't think much of. He wasn't even Utah wasn't even on his radar for his show.
Yeah,
And after he came and hang out and saw the how people reacted to him and that he had a good following, he started looking around Utah. So he ended up coming back to do another show, but to also search out locations to bring Insomniac to Utah.
I get it.
Well, there was this guy who we knew at the club who was kind of a nut job,
They're always
and
the fun.
yeah. Well, you get these guys who come in and they talk a good game. They know the right things to say. They drop names. They make it seem like they're connected.
Oh God, I deal with
And
that all the time.
yeah,
All the time.
yeah.
Everyone,
Well,
everyone's
they came to
everyone's a CEO. Everyone's a CEO.
yeah, yeah,
But go ahead, go ahead.
absolutely. Well, this guy comes talk. He's talking up to David Tell, and he's telling him about these great bar scene in Utah. And so he gets Dave to go with him to this nice. It was like a 3-story old building that they converted into this bar. It was really popular back in the day. Now it's tore down. I think they got apartments there or something. But
Yeah.
so he leaves. David Tell leaves with this wacko, right?
Hmm.
And as he's leaving, the owner of the club was like, "Hey, look, I don't want to be the guy who's known as the dude that got David Tell killed. So can you follow them over and give David out? Help him get out of there, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So me and the wife, we headed over to the bar, and we got there about 15 minutes after he would have gotten there. And I, I find him. It wasn't hard to find, he's David Tell.
Oh
Everybody's
yeah.
swarming around him. So I walk up to him, and he sees me, and he comes running over to me practically, and he kind of leans in, and he says, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here." And he says, "Are you just here hanging out? What's going on?" I go, "No, Dave, I'm literally here to save you. If you need out, I'm here to take you."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Thank you, thank you. Okay, all right. I'll tell you what. We worked out a code." He says, "There's a couple people I want to talk to. I'm really this bar's pretty cool, but there's a lot of shady stuff going on here, and probably need to get out of here."
Right.
And I and I'm like, "You bet." I said, "I'll just be right over here. I'll be watching you.
Mhm.
You make the signal, and as soon as I got it, we'll swing over here, and I'll have an excuse for you to leave." And he says, "Perfect." And it wasn't even 10 minutes, and he's making the signal. So me and the wife work over there, and I say, "Hey, Dave, I'm really sorry, but the club owner just called me. He says we need to talk about some issues." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he says, "Sorry, everybody, I gotta go." Boy, he grabbed hold of me and my wife, and we escorted him out of there. And as we're walking out, he goes, "You guys just saved my life." Boy,
Wow.
that was getting weird because they had all these people that started filming him from with these. They had really nice cameras, and they were hiding them from him. But he's not an idiot. He can see, he can tell what's going on. But they were trying to film him to make their own TV show
Oh, they were trying to
starring
steal his
him
shit?
without him. Yeah, they were trying to, basically con him into being in their show.
Oh, my.
And plus people were coming up and offering him all kinds of stuff. And he don't really drink. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, I imagine you get offered all kinds
And
of
and
party
so
favors.
but but yeah, and they were trying to get him to go up to somebody else's house in Park City to go, hot tubbing and stuff. And he said he was getting creeped out. So
So they could rob him,
he hopped
give
into
him
my.
a great drug and rape him. Who knows,
Oh
man?
yeah, yeah, possibly. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably one of the funnest ones, was saving David Tell's life.
Yeah. Hey, what was your guy's signal?
I mean, most comics was, he always wore a baseball cap,
They give you a tip of the
and I
hat.
told him, just grab the brim of your hat and just start kind of just play with the brim of your hat while it's swinging right over.
That's funny, dude.
So we kept
He's
it simple.
he's a crazy bastard. Hey, I don't know if you know who Joey Coco Diaz is. One of the guys from the Comedy Store.
I know who he is. Yeah.
He says sometimes, because I listen to him and Rogan. When I started really thinking about doing comedy, I started listening to comedians tell stories about what it was like in the beginning for them and stuff like that. So I could kind of get an education before I take the plunge. And some of the best sets are filmed when they don't know they're being filmed. Have you ever heard anything like that? I mean, it's probably by their own people. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
But what do you think about that?
Yeah, one of the things you'll find in comedy, when you know you're being taped, especially when
Yeah.
you know
What does that do to
it's for something special.
does that do?
I think it kind of it puts you on a weird pressure because
Yeah.
you feel like you got to just be perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're not being filmed, you're just more relaxed,
Yeah.
going with the moment, and you're just enjoying yourself. And that's usually when you do your best.
Right. Yeah.
So
what would you lean on the side of?
I like recording myself just to see what happens, but I always pretend I'm not being recorded
Oh,
regardless. I just go up there and relax and not get too worried about it. Because as I've always said, perfectionism is the first hurdle to success.
yeah.
The idea that we got to have everything perfect and be perfect, that's usually where we screw up.
That's
Uh, so
I'm
just
my
let
own.
it happen. Let the accidents, let the screw ups
Yeah.
happen. Who cares?
Yeah. When I first started filming, like for arm wrestling, because I found a whole vibe to this. Not that you're into arm wrestling, but just to show you where I'm coming from. The whole vibe of the sport. When I got into the filming part of it, uh, there's a lot of pressure for me to be perfect, and it's not from anyone but myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like no one can get in my own head. No one can get in my head but myself. Like no one's better at it than me.
Yep.
And I need to,
Nobody can get in there without your permission.
yeah, getting out of your own way so you can really find out what you're made of is harder than it sounds. You know what I mean? Especially
Oh,
when you really,
absolutely.
sometimes when you're
Absolutely.
passionate about something, you got to be careful because you can, like I try not to, but sometimes I'll beat myself up. Like I could see me if I, because if I, not on stage, but like when I'm hanging out at parties or if I'm at bars, I'll gather 5, 10, 15 people around, tell them it's story time, and I'll practice my bits on them. The experiences I've went through in my life are pretty much the stories that I tell. And I purposely go out on random adventures just to have material, you know what I mean? Or have have that conversation with someone in a convenience store about something wild, just because, why not? Just to see if I can get
Sure.
material out of it. I do stuff like that. I like to make people feel uncomfortable, not in a bad way, but just in a neutral or good way, just to see, because I'm not an asshole, but I'm a very I don't know, eccentric person. I like to have, deep conversations with the right people, but I like to fuck with people too a little bit. You know what I mean? Not in a mischievous way, but like I said, to see what I could come up with. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Yeah. Um, have you ever been to the Comedy Store?
I've never performed, but I've gone there with friends who were performing. So,
Because from what I've listened to over the years, it's a pretty sacred place. Could you tell me what the energy's like in there, and could you tell me who was performing the night you were there?
oh, gee, who did I see? Tim Rhodes. I remember he was on the show.
Mhm.
There were who else? No, I can't remember. I remember him. I remember him. He was the funniest one actually. And he used to he was like the he was going to be the biggest thing in comedy there for a while, and then nothing. He had a TV show. He was big, but yeah, the Comedy Store, yeah, it's its own kind of thing. I mean, it's really kind of a ground zero for
Yeah,
comedy, at least in the western
yeah.
part of the states.
Plus,
Um,
plus it's haunted.
oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
The
I'm sure
store.
Mitzi's probably
Oh, she's definitely there. I guarantee it.
roaming around in there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was that guy that killed himself. You know, across
The guy with the hat.
jumped.
He walks around in there with
Yeah,
a hat and he plays the piano, all kinds of weird shit. Yeah.
yeah.
Late at night. I think they said Sam Kinison. I don't know if he I think
I could. Yeah, I could see.
someone's seen someone levitate in that place. It was I've heard all kinds of stories.
I
Bobby
don't. I
Lee.
don't doubt. I don't doubt that at all.
Um the camaraderie in arm wrestling is kind of like a brotherhood.
Uh-huh.
It brings a lot, and this is how it kind of is in relation to comedy. This is what I'm going to get at here. What happens at our tournaments is we gather from vast distances. I'm talking quite a few states, and when we get together, it's like a family reunion, and we don't do it very often. But now we're good. This thing's a pain in the dick. Hey, do you know how long we've been on? I'm just curious.
I have no idea.
Oh, who cares? So, yeah, I was getting to the camaraderie in arm wrestling. We all come together, and it's like a brotherhood. Can you tell me a little bit about the camaraderie in comedy? Because I know some guys get swelled heads. They get a couple sets, and they do the. I'm sure there's drama in it, but at the same time, I'm sure there's guys that you can't wait to perform with and whatnot. Or see from a vast distance. You know what
Yeah. Yeah, when you become a comedian, you really you start seeing the world in a very different way.
I mean? Yeah.
And yeah, there is a camaraderie, but there's also, like everywhere else, you get a lot of petty cliques that pop up, and you get drama that pops up. You get people that think that they're purist of comedy, and that certain types of comedy aren't real comedy. You get all that the same kind of things you get with probably with arm wrestling. One type of grip is not real arm wrestling, or
Oh, there's all
what
kinds of drama. We do
that kind
a
of
lot of there's a
all that kind of weird drama. You get that in comedy too, just like anything else. But there is I don't know, a zeitgeist to it. Every comedy scene, they're all different, but at the same time, they're all the same. I mean, you get, like I said, you get people that think they're geniuses and that they're going to change the world, and
Yeah.
they think of themselves as the saviors of Western civilization. Like, dude, you're just up here to entertain people so they'll buy beer. Just
Yeah.
get up there and tell jokes and have fun. People didn't come here to have a philosophical conversation or get lectured to. They came to laugh and have a good time. But yeah, you have that. Like I said, anywhere in everything else. Anytime when you have a group of people have a common interest. There's quite a unique spirit that comes around. I have great friends I have in comedy, and I think there's a for those who are actually humble and love the art. When you run across those kind of people, it's just pure joy to hang out with them.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
What?
people just come in here for therapy too. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Sometimes they just want to. Sometimes from my experiences listening to other comedians, the ones with the most pain are sometimes the funniest.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. The ones that just when they've gotten to the point where they just don't care
Yeah.
and they just lay it out. It's a brilliant, beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, there is sort of a you know the the sadness behind the clown, if you will.
Yeah. You never seen Richard Pryor perform, did you?
Not live, no, no.
I talk about pain, but being hilarious.
Yeah, that dude was amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, I would put him in the top three greatest comics of all time,
So
easily.
who is your top three? I'd be curious.
I would say Carlin, Pryor, and well, I know this is controversial, but Bob Newhart,
Yeah.
and probably Robin Williams, but more, yeah.
I grew up
And
liking. Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
well, it's comics who changed the scene, who changed what it meant to be a comic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. My guys are
I
probably
mean, you could throw
Pryor.
easily.
I'd say Richard Pryor, probably Dave Chappelle, and I grew up with Andrew Dice Clay.
Ah, yeah,
They're my three favorites.
he's certainly made waves.
How about the fans? You have any interaction with the fans, like before or after a show?
More so now. Before people would come up and say, "You're very funny. I liked you,
Yeah.
but my nachos were cold." Um, you get that.
Yeah.
Uh, and now lately, it's people are more appreciative of comedy now
Oh,
because it's so rare.
yeah. Speaking of current comedy, have you been able to perform at all?
I've been very fortunate. Yeah, I've gotten a fair amount of work in places that still let you work.
Yeah.
So that's been good. That's mostly why I'm here in Utah. It's just there's places I can actually perform. Everywhere else, it's so restrictive that half the stuff gets canceled before it even
Yeah.
happens anymore.
Or just postpone after postpone?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm to the point now where I don't really promote a show until like days
Oh,
before because
no.
it's like,
Yeah.
why bother? To tell
No.
everybody they got to get their money back. So
I was supposed to fly to Oregon in December, had all the plans and everything booked, and just had to the government shut it down.
yeah.
Do you have any specials? Anything I can check out after we are done here? I want
Well, I did. This drives me nuts. I did a special for Dry Bar back when they first started.
to.
I was in the first season, but they never released it. Um,
Is it yours? Like, can you release it, or is it belong to?
I no, I can't. It's all their footage. They have it all.
Um,
They finally just recently sent me a copy of it um, to approve, and I'm like, this sort of isn't because I was about 270 pounds at the time that I recorded it.
what do you weigh now?
Um, I'm about 200.
Yeah. What are you
So
exercising? Eating better? Or?
just eating better, and yeah, I hit the gym 3 times a week, and
Yeah.
just
Cool.
try not to let COVID overtake me.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was 3 years ago, and I thought I had heard that they had just buried it. We're never going to release it, and because they thought I was too weird for the audio for the internet. And then I just recently did a new one, thinking that the old one would never see the light of day.
Mhm.
So I did a new one, and I did some of the same jokes, but they're better now. So I think they're going to be releasing my old one first, and then my most recent one. Like, I don't know if they're going to release them in the same season or whatever, but I
You'll have to send me a
uh,
link if that ever comes out.
sure. I do have. I mean, if you go to my YouTube channel,
You
there's
got
buried down there's some stand up uh, on there, and I did recently do at Dry Bar as well. I did a stand up special as Santa Claus.
oh, you what do you
That's available now. That's actually out on YouTube and Facebook
what kind of voice do you
and
do?
on their Dry Bar app.
What kind of voice do you do for Santa Claus?
No, well, funny you should ask. Um, I would like to inform everyone that although you still have your Christmas decorations up, please, January 1st, please take them down, or you're just embarrassing yourself.
I know some
That
people.
is the official word.
How about your writing?
Yeah, I did.
No,
Huh?
go ahead. Finish your point. Finish your point.
Oh, I've had fun playing Santa Claus. I think I spent most of my December just telling kids to be good
Yeah.
on video, doing Santa Claus videos on TikTok and Cameo. It was
Oh,
kind
you
of a fun winter.
bet. You look just like him. You could pull it off pretty easy. No, I wanted to ask you about your writing. Is there any kind of do you just take a notebook with you? Is there anywhere do you go hide in the take a cabin weekend in the woods and cut yourself off from the world, or like how do you go about the writing process?
I have tried all of those things. Everything you just said, I have done all
What?
of those
Yeah,
things.
because I would love to know what works for you.
Um, Usually, especially with the character, I call him Leonard.
Yeah,
I just get an inkling of an idea, and then I turn on the camera and just go into
just try.
character and let it happen.
That's probably a lot easier than writing it all down. Wouldn't you think? Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's times I'll release a video and then people start making all these comments, and I'm going, wow, that was brilliant. Where'd they get that from? And then I realized it was something I said in the video, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I forgot that.
it's funny.
I gotta go back and watch my own videos to
Oh
figure
my.
out what I said half the
Yeah.
time.
I do commentary on the arm wrestling things as well as performing and as well as pulling and filming. But I do commentary, and sometimes I I get behind on the comments. You get a lot of comments, and I'll be like, I don't remember saying any of that shit, so I have to go back and watch it because some of
Yeah,
the stuff's pretty funny. Like I don't remember because you're in the moment sometimes,
yeah,
especially
yeah. Yeah, it just
yeah.
comes to you, and then you're on to something else, and once it's over, you just stop thinking about it.
Oh yeah. Have you ever? Are you You should you should perform in Philadelphia sometime or New York, New Jersey area.
Oh,
Whenever.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Yeah, I got some people I could talk to in Philadelphia, set you up real nice. I
Oh,
think it'd be a
sweet.
breath of fresh air for everyone that's, walking, scared all the time. I think that we need to deliver, hope or like you said, make them laugh so they can forget about their troubles for a few minutes. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know why, but I get a fulfillment out of that currency can't buy. Even though it would be nice to get paid for, using your brain for once, because I'm one of them guys in the warehouse busting my ass and I hate it. I've been doing 9 to 5 my whole life, and I just feel like I'm meant for something more. And I want to, I'm 43 years old. It's like now or never. So I'm like wanting to go after it. And it's just
yeah.
funny how you just kind of crashed into my feed one day, and I'm like, this guy's really interesting. And I thought I'd get to know you. And then when I find out you're a comedian, now I really want to get to know you because there's so many questions I have about, because I'm really interested in jumping in that arena. So I mean, yeah, even after this interview, I'd like to keep in contact with you just over.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Is there, go ahead.
the big thing about starting into comedy is decide what it is that you really want to say.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they start doing comedy, they're just writing jokes for the sake of writing jokes.
Yeah. I
But
can't do that.
if you have a real purpose and intent behind
Yeah.
what the joke means,
Oh, I'm on top of that.
it helps you so much
Plus, I
to
think
really
people,
stay focused and to be more clever and to have more fun with it.
right. Plus, I think after a while, people
Don't,
can see through bullshit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well, Rodney, it's been a pleasure talking with you tonight.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure
Yeah.
myself.
I'm gonna dive into some of your videos. I can't wait to check them out, see some of your different characters. And yeah, man. It's like to get you up in this area sometime whenever all these restrictions lift up. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd love
I'd
to.
like to
Love
catch one
to.
of your shows, for sure, for sure. Hey, did you
I'll
grow
be
up in
I'll
Utah?
be getting up there.
Have you always?
Yes, yeah, I grew up in Utah, but when I got older, I went on a mission for the LDS Church in Mormon.
Huh?
Went to New Jersey actually.
Yeah.
I spent some time there in Bucks County,
That's where I'm at
Morrisville.
right now.
You're in Morrisville?
I am like 20 minutes from Morrisville.
Ah, yeah. See, my
That's
first area
crazy.
was Trent,
Isn't that a small
and
world?
we used to go across the bridge there to Morrisville all the time.
That is crazy.
And
How long ago was that?
that was 88 to 90.
Wow. Well, I
And
was
then after that, I joined the Marine Corps
Marine Corps.
because the Marine Corps. Yeah, did that for 4 years, and then
Did you go anywhere
got
crazy?
married. No, I didn't. I mean, I spent a year in Japan, and then I went to Norway.
What'd you do in the
Um,
military?
I was a field radio operator,
So you were like the communications guy.
communications guy. Yeah.
That's cool, man. You didn't see no crazy stuff. That
No, no, I joined because of the first Gulf War, and then it was over before I even got out of boot camp. So
well, it's probably a good experience for you,
yeah, yeah. Oh, it was great.
especially
I mean,
the
I
Marine
still
Corps.
keep
That
in
probably
touch
toughened
with.
you up real quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. It'll pop you into reality in a heartbeat.
Hey, man, I'm a curious guy. What's that like? What's that boot camp like?
I think the most difficult thing of boot camp for me was trying to keep from laughing.
Really? Get
Oh
out
yeah,
of here. Why is that?
the drill instructors were hilarious.
Oh God, was it overkill? Can you give me an example?
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, I'm
There
you.
was
Listen, I'm you, and you're about to yell at me with the drill sergeants. Go ahead.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the first experiences I had directly with a drill instructor was um, like it was like the second day that we were in our platoon,
Mhm.
and they had us go use the head. And the way it worked is that there's like a handful of urinals and a couple toilets, and you got 96 people, 96 gentlemen, and you got like less than a minute to
Oh
use the
God,
head.
you probably just start pissing all over each other, didn't you?
Oh yeah, well the first time everybody kind of lines up like you normally do, and then when you realize that only about 8 people are going to get to pee at this rate, then the second time you go to the head, you're loading up. I mean, it's just, I mean, you're pissing in the sinks.
Oh God.
storms, rain,
Yeah.
I mean, you got 8 people to a urinal, which, it improves your aim, which
I
is
bet.
good.
I bet.
But anyway, so we were coming running out of the head into the main squad bay area, and as we're all running, the one drill instructor, he would play this game where he would stand right in the doorway, so you had to um, kind of bunch up against each other to not touch him to get around him.
Oh God.
It was intentional to screw with you.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
And as we're coming around, you're coming around this thing. I got pushed from behind, and I plowed into the drill instructor. I ran into him,
Oh no.
and so but he was from behind, so he was standing there behind, yelling at people as they're passing him, but his back is towards those of us who are approaching him.
Mhm.
So I bump into him and kind of slide off to the side, and so he knows it's me, and he just looks at me and goes, "What the hell are you trying to do, Norman? You trying to make sweet butt love to me?" And I'm like, "Sir, no, sir." And he goes, "No, you don't want to make sweet butt love to me?
He's
Well,
now
you
he's
must
mad at
think
you.
I'm just one. You think I'm just one ugly son of a bitch? Is that what you're trying to tell me?" I'm like, "Sir, no, sir." And he's like, "Well, what is it, Norman? Do you want to make sweet butt love to me, or an I'm ugly son of a bitch?"
Oh
And
my.
it's everything in me. Uh, Everything in me not to just start laughing. And so
Mhm.
I've tried to hold back the laughter. And then he just makes me just yell and scream over and over, uh, "Sir, you're an ugly son of a bitch, and I want to make sweet love to you," for like 5 minutes. I
Tell me
just
I'm an
had
ugly
to
son of
say,
a bitch. Tell me you want to make butt love to me. I could hear it. I could see it.
yeah, it
What?
was,
You don't want to love me? You don't want a piece of my ass? Yo, that's great, man. Man, you're a tremendous individual, man. I look forward to getting to know you, my friend. It's been
thank you. Looking forward to
yeah,
get to know you.
yep, Rodney. It's been a pleasure. The first guest on the Vibe Sessions with Jimmy Walnuts. Check him out. You got a YouTube channel, Rodney Norman, yeah?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
Rodney Norman comedian. I'll pop up.
Check him out, man. I'll see you soon. I'm gonna try to get you to Philly when all these restrictions lift up. And I'm probably gonna pick your brain about this comedy thing. So get used to me
Oh,
on it.
absolutely.
All right, my friend.
Be a
Have a good night.
pleasure.
Yep, have a good night.
All right, you too, my friend.
Yep, see you
See
later.
ya.